So they go for the Yuumi Garen, opting out of the early game there. Don Arts has to step up.
Yeah, it's going to be all on Don Arts, and we did have a few questions raised about him coming in to the European Masters as the pause has ended, and we'll be taking to the Summoner's Rift for our first game, our first best of 3 of today, finding out who our third team making it into Katowice will be. Will it be LDLC? Will it be Big? Looks like for the moment, Big are starting out with an invade. I'm going to see if they can find someone else to hire it, but don't really have too much CC to work with, so it's just an invade for the moment.
Yeah, and we've seen Hyrit the Pirate before do quite well. And I'm wondering now, White Knight is also another member we're looking at stepping up here for Big, because we talked about how Don Arts has this early game. White Knight specifically going for the counter pick here with the Rumble, specifically playing for that mid game as well that the desk touched on. I think that's a good lane if you can play around it for Big.
Well, Big, they tried to make the play happen in that top side. Do you just get some vision down, some idea of where Joko will be? But it looks like it's a red side start here for Don Arts on this Jarvan.
So let me clarify what I'm expecting from Big's early game. We're talking about Don Arts, we're talking about how the top lane is a potential focus. As long as it's top side, I think Big has made the right move, for Don Arts specifically. Because you don't want to play towards this Garen Yuumi lane. It's going to get pushed in, it's going to be able to farm. It has the tankiness to avoid being dove or being under any serious pressure of dying. So, as long as Don Arts stays on the top side of the map, I think he has options there between the mid lane, where he can maybe try to punish Aika, and then in the top lane as well, we can try punish Hira.
We'll be watching the junglers early in this matchup, see where they decide to put that attention. You're recognizing towards the top, sorry, towards the mid as well. Do you want to see how this kind of favors for LDLC? Because they have picked the Draven. It's a very feast or famine AD carry as well, so they need to see how they're going to get that rolling, really.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just going to try farm the Kleptomancy there. I think that's all you can do in that lane, and push for plates as well. I really want to focus as well on Joko, who's going to probably try match Don Arts. But Don Arts with the Jarvan can gank that little bit quicker. Can even have ganked from this level 2 point. Looks like waiting for that level 3, or at least waiting for probably that crab spawn top side to really try push ahead here of Joko. We'll see now. I expect him maybe to move towards that top side crab. We'll see how he decides to play it.
Joko just doing a pretty standard start for the Predator junglers, where you clear out your red side, you look to get yourself a base off and buy some boots, but actually for the moment, hanging around for the crab, seeing if that's going to spawn. Actually was just taking out a ward. It looks like it's actually potentially a full clear here by Joko.
Yeah, I think Joko was prepared to see him on that top side. We're going to see them now probably move towards that top side grab. Yeah, the expectation from Don Arts coming through here. That's good. That's the kind of pathing we're expecting from this guy. And then in terms of the lanes themselves, you can see White Knight's ready, allowing Hira to push forward. Means that he's in a bit of under a bit of pressure here. The Jarvan looks like he's going to hover towards the top side.
One of the things we were talking about before the game started, before everything kind of kicked off, was Don Arts is the player on Big who maybe hasn't hit the mark quite to the level that the rest of the team have hit. So we do want to be seeing what he can set up for his team. He's got a bot lane which is relatively uninteractive. I say relatively uninteractive. It's an uninteractive bot lane. So he can kind of leave that part of the map alone and just expect them to play the scaling game. He now has one less gate lane that he needs to really worry about. Obviously, if they start to get dove and camped and stuff, then he obviously does need to put some attention towards there. But he has a lane that is very gankable in this Gangplank.
Well, I agree. I think you're talking about, I mean, if they're being dove, if you try to dive Garen Yuumi, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So yes, I agree. Look towards that top side. You have the Gangplank who, while difficult to really put down a lot of pressure on certain junglers, Jarvan is not one of those, especially towards that level 6 mark. But even earlier than that, you can't use the oranges to cleanse a knockup.
Well, definitely a slower start here in the first 4 to 5 minutes of the game. Neither jungle are really looking for any opening plays for the moment, but you do see what this is resulting in. There is a CS lead for Kazi, but Combi's pretty happy. He's got that Kleptomancy. He's got a big wave shoving into him, so he should be able to equalize out on that CS discrepancy. Aika up over Zazi, also with the Kleptomancy. So this is resulting in not a massive lead for Big, but with this wave crashing in, LDLC should be fairly happy with the state of the bot lane. As Kazi is going to take himself a little bit of poke.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much actually happen down there, so watch towards the other side. I was saying I wanted to see Don Arts earlier on the map. So far it's been a little slower than Big might like, but this is a good move. Donart's actually going to punish this lane. May not get the kill, but will probably get the flash. That's enough for this early on, especially as Donarts can start approaching that Cataclysm. And I talked about the level 6, but just to clarify, you lock someone in the Gangplank at the Cataclysm, no real way to escape besides that flash.
White Knight doing his best acting here, trying to see if he can bait Harit to step up, maybe go for a trade. But Harit is playing very, very safe in this lane. He's sacrificing CS, doesn't want to give any pressure. And now Djoko, he's moving up, looking for an invade into this blue side, seeing what he can steal away from Donarts in the meantime.
Now Zazzy's hit level 6, so it'll be a lot easier to play around mid lane if you choose to, as Donarts. Donarts, I think, was waiting there for a potential counter gank as well, knowing how far Rumble was pushed up, but not coming through. Looks like they're going to have to play a little further back. And one of the reasons you see Gangplank as such a strong defensive pick, such a strong defensive blind pick, is you can play so far back and still control your wave using that ultimate, avoiding any heavy pressure you could put down a champion like that.
A lot of damage actually coming out from Comp and Steelback. The expected pressure, realistically, but it is a Yuumi. You do have that constant stream of healing. This will be the first few plates now going over to the LDLC bot lane. Exactly what they want to be getting here. As much gold onto this Draven, get him snowballing, make him a real nuisance as the game goes on. Yeah,
and while we talked about them not under a huge amount of dive threat, this early on, they don't have a mass amount of tankiness, and there were 4 members of LDLC hovering towards bot side, so even while you're very tanky, you don't want to end up on the receiving end of that. So decides to play it back and just TP back into the lane. No bother.
LDLC will be able to pick themselves up this Cloud Drake here. Nice and simple. Djoko going pretty low, but he still had that smite for the heal. Will afford them a little bit quicker on those rotations around the map.
While I've talked a lot about Biggs pathing, one of the things you are obviously going to look for as a bot lane with the priority was early dragon control. You don't even have to contest it because Yuumi Garen can't run up there. So kind of a free pickup for LDLC, but a good one to secure at this stage of the game.
Okay, Syke, so junglers were our kind of major point for this early game. We're now 7 minutes in. Both of them just kind of had a bit of a farm fest. We did see Donarts make a move towards the top lane, but Harit just had such a big wave. He was playing so safe, he wasn't able to pull anything out. Where are we expecting to see either Djoko or Donarts now start to put their attention as the game is starting to go on a little bit? The Garen and Yuumi starting to get a bit of tankiness under their belt. Where are we expecting them? Is it still towards this top lane? Is it still towards this mid lane? Or does this bot lane become a gankable option for either jungler?
I really don't see why you'd gank towards the bot lane unless, I think, you can actually set up a play with the Garen as he hits level 6, go for the kind of final chapter, the quick execute onto Comp or Steelback. It's still a very difficult lane to play around and one that isn't necessary to play around. So I would agree that the best place to go is stick to those solo lanes. They're quite snowbally as well, especially on the side of Big, looking towards that mid-game finish that we talked about because you have big team fighting tools with the Akali's perfect execution, with the Rumble Equalizer and the Cataclysm as well. Huge, big mid-game team fight that you want to try have the carries in a good position to make.
Every time Donarts tries to play for a gank on the top side, Harit just plays so safe. Now Djoko is aware that Donarts is there as he saw him on the ward, but they clear that out, and now Donarts not going to be able to find that gank, but this does afford them the ability to roam down towards this mid lane and place more wards.
Yeah, and while we've had questions of Harit in the past, he's actually answering them quite well. Willing to play a bit further back, willing to avoid punishment, and this is the kind of Harit that you wanted to see played in previous tournaments because we've seen him punished by the likes of Sakura in previous European Masters. And I mean, this time around, playing very safe on a very safe champion, mind you, but still avoiding being picked off by this focus from Donarts.
Now Donarts actually making some pings towards this bot side. He might actually see if he can make something happen, but there is a ward in the Tri-Brush. Hasn't been spotted out yet. Now Djoko actually going for an invade.
This is dangerous.
See him on that ward there. They have that Akali being shoved in as well, so Djoko just gets a free chicken camp and is able to get away.
Yeah, the only reason I noticed, yes, you're being pushed in, but of course you had the package there as well, so that invade was actually quite safe. I was looking for the perfect execution. Could have been a very interesting 2v2, but I think the package probably going to push it a little too strong for LDLC, so that's why Big happy to just avoid the fight entirely.
Well, approaching that 10-minute mark here, gold lead is in favor of LDLC. It's only marginal at the moment. We do start seeing the items that are getting picked up. Ica actually goes in for the Hex Drinker and the Sheen, so has some safety in that lane for the moment. Comp obviously going for BF swords. It's a Draven, that's what he builds.
Yeah, I think the one thing for me, though, is we were hoping Donarts would step up. Yes, a lot of the plays have been shut down, but I was still expecting more from him in this game. So still has the chance, still has the Cataclysm available, but definitely feels a lot quieter than you'd want it to be for Big at this moment. For LDLC, though, they're getting a lot of what they want. They're getting a lot of free farm, double kleptomancy on that side of the team as well. That's why you're seeing the gold advantage shift so heavily towards them. And Big, no response thus far. You can see the gold lead in all the lanes you'd expect. Actually, in the jungle as well. Just solid pathing from Djoko, because Donarts has tried to put down pressure and failed, while Djoko has just taken to farming entirely. A decent gold lead in that position also.
You actually see a lane swap come out from LDLC. Now, normally when they go for these lane swaps, they actually do give stuff up on the map for it, but because there's no Drake, because they got that earlier, they actually have the priority to go for this. And Steelback flashes forward, does throw out the lantern, has a hook, a belly bop on. Donarts uses the Cataclysm, now Comp on the Whirling Death secures first blood. That's a cash in for the Draven.
Yeah, really nice to pick that up for the Draven. So now you see LDLC are the ones accelerating. You said, yes, sometimes they're slow to the swap, but Big have been playing a very slow game in general when you were hoping for a bit more from them. Now it looks like LDLC.
They've got the final chapter down from Carzzy. The cannon barrage is going to be enough, and Carzzy uses the ultimate to get himself a kill. Now Zazi on that flank does have the perfect execution to chase. Can't actually get anything onto Comp for the moment. They lay down the red carpet though, and that is Zazi looking for Comp. He's going to get picked up. 2 kills for Big, and they get themselves an advantage and stop the Rift Herald.
Good recovery there from Big, because really the play had started off so dangerously, and as you were noting, it's usually LDLC slow to the swaps, but it's Big this time around who are not on the same pace as LDLC. They catch up though, they get the TPs in, and now it's looking a bit better for Big.
Okay. That's got Steelback with him, but it's been an optimistic attempt if they wanted to try and secure this. A hook actually lands onto Labros. Steelback lays him back, does a little bit of damage, but Djoko comes in, he's looking for the steal, takes the lantern out, doesn't even go for the smite.
Well, I mean, it wasn't in smite range, and there was a wall of people in the way of a lot of those Gragas hits. I think playing it safe there because the steal was not on.
Ica will get some time on this turret though, as he can do a bit of damage, get himself a plate. A lot of plates in this bot lane have already gone down. Comp got first blood, and he also got himself the passive proc, so he's got a lot of additional gold here for him with that bloodthirster finished up onto this Draven. And now he's going to get some free time, some free gold from these plates in the top lane.
It's worth noting as well that going all these Kleptomancy champions is really nice for a team that are looking for a big mid-game team fight on the side of Big. It means that if they don't manage to make any proactive plays, you actually have those item advantages over them, and those mid-game team fights become a lot harder to actually execute.
Now we're seeing Djoko and Steelback roam around the map together. This is what we expected coming into this game. It's a 12-minute hit. They start to move around as a duo, looking for picks, looking to set LDLC up for these plays. Do you see Steelback did go for a quick base, want to spend some of his gold, refresh some of his resources. Djoko just wants to get his hands onto this crab and move around to see if they can get their hands on a second Cloud Drake. We'll speed them up around the map with this jungle duo roam. Comp instantly rotates down to make sure he's got that Ica with them. This is going to be an uncontested Drake given over to LDLC.
And LDLC are the ones moving their vision along with their players a lot quicker. Look at that bot side river. Very clean from them. Yes, it's shallow vision, but that's all they need because they have the numbers advantage in the area so clearly.
All right, going to show up with the barrels to be able to clear out this wave. Actually, Carzzy does take those out. You have a little bit weaker wave clear currently. Now, Hyric does need to be very careful without those barrels, without the safety to be able to quickly clear out the waves. Carzzy and Labrov might be able to run him down under tower, so he just steps away, has to give up that objective. Donarts is there. He knows the rest of his team are towards his bot side of the map as well, so he can't actually contest. He's just going to have to give up the tower. This might just be first turret blood given over to Big.
We'll see if it does come to fruition. You're seeing the big thing there is that you had the tower plates just drop. It's now a lot weaker. It'll be easier for them to push for it. You can see as a result, LDLC are moving into the area. They've had time to respond to it. And you can see Big are just not as close by. This could be dangerous for Carzzy and Labrov.
Could be, but they're very, very quick.
Yeah.
A lot of tenacity, a lot of movement speed to work with. Another wave clear from Hyric on the Gangplank, forgot the name of the champion there. He's able to clear out those waves now. He's got that Triforce finished up. Comp quite comfortable in the mid lane. Kind of playing a solo lane at this point. Well, Steelback looks to make the plays happen with Djoko.
You can see if you split off into either of the side lanes, though, it's not so bad. Especially if you can get the Akali matching people with that Gunblade. Has a bit of kill pressure, but with the package up for Ica, you can understand why Big aren't aggressing at the moment.
Carzzy actually might be able to get himself this turret here. They use the barrel, but really doesn't do any damage. You've seen the power of the Prowling Projectile by Labrov, just chunking Hyric out. LDLC, they may lose first turret blood here. They've been good on the pressure, on the pace of the game so far, but they're starting to feel the pressure from this Garen and Yuumi bot lane, while Hyra is just the one dealing with them solo, and this might just be the turret giving up here.
And I mean, we haven't talked about the Garen Yuumi a lot yet because it does take a while to come online. We've talked about how it's weaker early, but it's honestly, they're scaling up. They're getting towards that mid game they want. LDLC, yes, they're getting a lot of items, but Big also uncontested this early on may give them the chance to execute on one big team fight and very quickly turn this into a game for them.
Well, while we saw a lot of Labrov and Kazi pushing up this top lane, Iker was kind of quietly pushing away in that bot side. He has himself a CS lead. He did pick up first turret blood, so Big finally crack open this top lane, but they do not get the race off in time. But this is actually going to be Don Arts now using the Rift Tail towards this top mid lane. They want to open up this part of the map.
I was going to say, this is really good pacing because you've seen a bunch of people had backed, so that's why you have to TP in at this point. Otherwise, you lose that mid tower and open up the map entirely. Good response there from LDLC to go for the teleport, but I actually like the Rift Herald timing there from Big.
Both of the teams actually grouping up around this mid lane for the moment. They do want to get a bit of control there. Hyra now has himself some free time. He doesn't have to deal with the Garen Yuumi. But White Knight will turn up to clear out the wave. And Hyra will not be able to get himself a tower.
Yeah, it's worth noting at level 11, a lot of Big becomes scarier. White Knight having hit it, Zazie having hit it. The thing for Carzzy as well is you become extremely tanky at that point because you get what is effectively a Warmogs from your passive. You become this really quick sustaining champion outside of fights. So as soon as a fight doesn't go immediately your way, you run out of the fight, you give it a little time, and you're able to re-engage.
Big quite happy with the state of this. It's still 2,000 gold in favor of LDLC. They have been pretty quick on some of these plays, and now Steelback is looking for the play, but it's just so hard to catch the Garen Yuumi. You press Q on the Garen, you press Zoomies on the Yuumi, and they're out of there quicker than you can get in with a fresh lantern. Now LDLC may be seeing if they can set something up bot lane, but there's no tower, there's no one even bot lane. Just going to steal away a couple of camps.
Yeah, and the reason we're kind of looking at it with a bit of tension, because you know that once that play does drop, one team can push very quickly into the lead, can look for those objectives, but someone has to make that aggressive move, because right now it has been fairly quiet. Both junglers not being massive playmakers right now.
I know, Tyke. Man, when I saw Draven get locked in, I honestly thought we were going to have like a mad, fast-paced game, but it's been really slow and controlled by both of them.
But that's why you had the Garen Yuumi locked in straight away as the response. They went, oh, you want to go this big aggressive lane? You want to try push in against us? We're just not going to give you kill pressure. And that's why they specifically went for that Garen Yuumi as soon as you saw that drafted in.
Especially the cast getting used onto Carzzy. Steelback's coming in. They've got a slower Flay, a box, using the final chapter here. Carzzy tries to turn it around. Donards slides in. The cannon barrage is going to get used, and Zazie teleports into Shuriken flip away. Now Donards, he's getting slowed down and run away, but nobody can fully commit for the kills. The Whirling Death goes a little bit wide on the tail end there. At ALC, they look for the play, but they don't find their opening.
And they used a lot there in terms of ultimates, so if you can re-engage this as Big, if you can find an opening yourselves, you can very quickly take this fight.
Looking for that hook onto White Knight. He doesn't actually use himself the equalizer quite yet. Big now. That healing from the Garen starting to come through. They've actually got the health bar advantage for the moment. LDLC looking for the hook onto White Knight. Not going to find it. Now Hyra comes
equalizer.
in. That's going to be the equalizer to zone LDLC away, but they can't find the damage.
See, if it had just been a little further across, he could have actually picked up Steelback, but
ooh, Donards taking a lot there from the Rockets. If that one hit, that would have been the end of him, but he's not going to be able to die yet. Joko takes a Shuriken, but no follow-up by Zazie. The Infernal Drake has spawned here. This is the key thing. Donards was actually sent away as a low health bar, and the vision control is in favor of LDLC. So LDLC still want to contest around this Infernal Drake. They know the Big are looking to get this, and this will be a nice power boost for either one of these teams.
And this is where you'd love to have the Garen at level 11 as Big. You'd love to just be able to sustain up or go in for those kind of wards, run away, sustain up again. But watching it now, you can see LDLC want to be the aggressors. They want to push for this Infernal Dragon, and it looks like they're getting good damage down to start it.
They get a fair amount down, but Kazi is able to heal up. Zazie also with a Hextech Gunblade hits a minion with one 5-point strike, and he's able to clear those out nice and quickly, get himself some healing. As Iker, he steps forward. He has got the package, so he's feeling very, very safe currently. The Prowling Projectiles, though, doing so much work for Big, poking LDLC members down left, right, and center. And there's so many wards inside the pit. LDLC are aware that Big will know this is going on, but now it looks like the collapse is coming through. That's the hook by Steelback onto Donarts. The Cataclysm gets used and a package is dropped to give Iker escape away. The Drake actually is going to be picked up here for LDLC. Now Steelback finds another hook, uses the box. This is going to be the fight, the final chapter. Carzzy running them down. Nana, Batman! That's going to be the kill for Carzzy. Catman coming up big.
Yeah, you get the Catman comp in there. I'm looking at that. I mean, it's kind of like the Batman in his own way.
I had it in my head, and I said Batman, dude.
It's ingrained, I get that. But either way, the Catman comp coming up big. You have Big now pushing for this tower in the mid lane. They actually do get the fight off. That fight took so long that the equalizer came up again. This is how tentative both teams are playing, and part of this is the pressure of this series. It's a best of 3. You don't have a lot of time to be making mistakes, and you know that your team's coming in relatively evenly matched. People went to that LDLC looking like the potentially stronger edge of this matchup, but I think it's a little more even than people are giving it credit for. It starts off well enough for LDLC. They force out the Cataclysm for just the package. That's fine, and it looks like they're going to pick up the Infernal Dragon. They do. Watching Zazzy, though, is where a lot of their damage comes in, because I was watching the whole edge of this fight. Actually slows down here, so he goes, I'm committing to that, goes for the assassination, and scares off the rest of LDLC, and that leaves the rest of Big the opening to pick up another.
They pick himself up, 2 turrets off that on the tail end. Big now 3 up. LDLC only have themselves 1 turret, but the gold is still even. The power of that Kleptomancy, the power of the laning phase is really paying dividends for LDLC. So yes, they're down turrets. Yes, they lost that last fight, but they are getting turrets here on the top side. They do still have a lot of locked gold on the map, and they can pull ahead of gold at any time if Big give them an opening, if a mistake is to happen.
It's worth noting, though, that going for that Kleptomancy means that if you're just even in gold, you effectively have lost a rune. Because on the other side, you're playing with a lot more important keystone runes. The Electrocute on Zazzy means you have more assassination potential. Even the Fleet Footwork on the Garen allow them to get through that laning phase, so probably won't be as important going forward. But not that Garen needs any extra damage, because all he is a big, tanky man to use that ultimate to spin on top of people and to allow Labrov the freedom to push forward.
Yeah, because the kind of thing that a lot of people forget is Garen's not the carry in the Yuumi Garen. Yuumi's the carry. Yuumi's the one doing the damage. Garen's just a tank for Yuumi to sit on quite comfortably. LDLC now, they have been pushed in. They've actually got Iker and Comp sharing out these minions, so kind of splitting some of the gold between the pair of them as Steelback is constantly looking for these hooks, but he can't find himself the opening. Just
to clarify that Garen Yuumi point as well, it is worth noting that yes, Yuumi is the carry. Yuumi is a huge chunk of the damage, and especially that poke. But in a fight, if you just forget about the Garen, try to ignore him as if you were a standard tank, he will run through your team entirely.
Oh yeah, and he still has the execute as well. Joko needs to be careful. Actually gets caught out by the Cataclysm. Use the Equalizer. Great Lantern by Steelback means he gets away. A lot of damage coming down. Actually, Joko has to flash away. Carzzy just too scary. LDLC cannot contest.
And that's the Batman, the Catman on the side. That little bit of stealth shows up when you least expect him.
That's why I said it, man.
Yeah. I can now see exactly how you got confused.
That was my thinking, yeah. Because he was unnoticed in the fight. Like you said, he's just, you don't notice the Garen. He does a lot of damage over time. All right, pushing away in this bot lane. White Knight will be able to catch this wave. And what's the game plan going forward? Because we've hit these 23-minute parts. Every team fight we've seen so far has favored Big. LDLC are getting a few neutral objectives in the likes of these Drakes, and they didn't actually get the Riftel. Big did find that. But what is the game plan for LDLC? What do they need to do for the next kind of 5 minutes of gameplay?
I mean, if they can try stall it out, they have the Gangplank, they have the Corki, even the Draven. Huge amounts of scaling damage coming through there. Obviously, the Draven being spiking earlier as well. Can be quite scary, even for the likes of Garen. Can still be taken out by some of those carries as the game scales forward. So if LDLC could just hold off, try to avoid some of these mid-game fights, but this is why I liked Big's comp. I like kind of comps that have earlier win conditions, because all LDLC can do now is hope that Big don't find their opening. Because once they do, they're going to be able to capitalize, take out that Baron, and their siege can be extremely scary. Any Yuumi siege can be quite scary due to the amount of poke the cat provides.
Well, Comp has now got himself the Infinity Edge and that Bloodthirster. Did actually pick an Executioner's calling up a little bit earlier on in the game to deal with the sustain, the healing available to Big. But he's going to be able to do a serious amount of damage to these squishy members. But the problem is Carzzy will always be in his face. It will be so hard for the Draven to find these squishy members to chunk them out. Because the people who will be jumping on him are going to be these tankier members.
It's worth noting as well from the side of, okay, let's hold off for a second. We see potential catch.
Interesting positioning there, but actually Joko's on the flank. Donart's flags through. They actually get a Lantern off the Cataclysm in, and Donart's going to go golden. Cannon Barrage on the tail end there. They use everything on top of Comp. He's chunked out of the fight, but he's still alive for the moment. Hyria getting run down by Carzzy. Demacia and Justice won't find the execute, and Hyria trying to get that damage down, but Big come out on top in the fight. Now they're going to look for the Infernal Drake as White Knight takes out Joko. It's only Iker alive.
You could ignore the Infernal. You have taken out 4 members. Go for that Baron. It's this early in the game that you need to make those kind of decisions. Go for that Baron first. The Infernal just isn't anywhere near as important. Massive, massive fight for Big.
The final equalizer. Such a big combo on top of the 2 carries there for LDLC. Iker and Comp were just zoned out of the fight. Didn't feel comfortable to step up without dying. Iker will at least get the consolation prize of a second Infernal Drake for his team, but this is Baron for Big.
Yeah, and you have to remember, the reason I'm saying you have to be decisive as Big is you have a very slow take on this Baron. You can't commit to the 2 objectives. You do have to give up the double Infernal, but the Baron for you as the mid-game team, as the team I just talked about being quite scary in sieges, this is great for Big. Let's look at this fight again. So it starts off fairly normally, but it's when you see those 2 ultimates down that it looks so good for them. So Don Arts finds himself a little bit caught out, but now look at the final chapter, look at the equalizer, the 2 lines going alongside one another, just cuts down the fight, and then Carzzy able to sit on top of everybody, closes it out.
Demacia and Justice also finding so much damage onto the Draven to send him packing, and great team fight there for Big. They now accelerate themselves ahead in gold. And LDLC have to somehow deal with all these Baron sieges coming forward. So weaknesses were shown by LDLC versus Fnatic Rising. It looks like Big had their number. They also recognize these weaknesses and are looking to punish LDLC. Steelback just not finding these hooks on this Fresh at all.
Yeah, it's very interesting because LDLC generally playing for that early game. Big not really leaving them those openings, gets to scale into their mid game and just destroy them there. Now LDLC's last opening is waiting for that later game. I don't think it's a kind of comfortable style for LDLC. Very unusual for an LFL team as well, as generally you've always seen them push for these